Hello and welcome to the TomFM channel. I'm Tom and today we're in Football Manager 2019. Don't quite know why I had to explain that. We have been playing Football Manager for 2.5 years on this channel now, so I think you probably kind of got the picture by now. Either way, Football Manager 2020 has been announced pretty recently, and we need to build some hype for it. We need to get the hype train going for Football Manager 2020 on my channel. So in order to do that, we're going to go back to one of the very classics. We're going to be investing £1 billion into some clubs and seeing what happens. Absolute classic experiment. And if you yourself want to be in with a chance of winning £1 billion, all you got to do is press subscribe. And then obviously sort of make a wish that you'll win £1 million, because I think the best I can offer is £2.50 and a curly whirly, something like that. What you can do though actually is get Football Manager 2020 for less than £30. If you go through my affiliate link in the description, it will take you to 2Game. I've partnered up with them to get you the cheapest deal possible. You can also use promo code TomFM at the checkout, and that takes it below £30, which is a fantastic deal. 2Game, pretty decent site as well. I've used them before, so I trust them. I won't be advertising it to you if I didn't trust them. So go and get your code through there. You get a Steam code emailed to you. You can then redeem that Steam code on Steam itself, and then Football Manager 2020 is in your library, ready to download. You get the game for cheap, I get some commission, it helps the channel out and helps the channel grow and things like that. It's a win-win situation, so go and check that one out in the description. Now, we've not actually done this type of video for a long time. We've not done a billionaire experiment since November 2018, which, is that true? I'm not even lying, it actually is true. November 2018 was the last time we did a billionaire experiment. I've not been abusing this enough. I've been not abusing this near enough. Either way, today we're going to go to a very, very obscure league. We're going to Gibraltar, and we're going to use the Gibraltan leagues to invest £1 billion into. If you're not quite sure where Gibraltar is, it's a tiny little country on the south coast of Spain. I think the entire area of Gibraltar is 6.7 kilometres squared. And when you compare that to the Olympic Park in London, it's only 3 times bigger than the Olympic Park. That's how small we're talking of a country. If you've been to the Olympic Park, you'll know that's not actually that big, really. And consider that Gibraltar's 3 times the size of that. It's not a big country at all. But apparently, it's got a Premier League or a First Division with 10 teams in it, and a Second Division with 7 teams in it. So we've invested £17 billion. Every single club's been given £1 billion. So a lot of investment into Gibraltar recently. The most successful club ever in Gibraltar football is this club, Lincoln Red Imps. So you can sort of see why I chose Gibraltar to start this off with. We've got a Lincoln Loco 3 anytime soon. That'll be quite a good, wouldn't it? Lincoln Loco 3. Anyway, this experiment is really, really simple. As I've already kind of explained, we invest £1 billion into every single club. To do that, I've used the in-game editor. So we'll take Lincoln, for example. This pencil up here, once you've got the in-game editor, you buy it from Steam, you can then enable this in-game. So I just click this, go to edit club details, go to finances. Wow, £1 billion in every single club. Wage budget of 500 or 5 million actually. Isn't it 5 million? That's the maximum you can put as wage budget. But there you go, £1 billion in every single club. We've not touched facilities, anything like that. And actually, there's a massive difference in facilities in Gibraltar, because you can see Lincoln Red Imps here. 10 training facilities, 7 youth facilities. That's pretty decent, to be fair. If we go to a different club, for example, if we go to, I think it's this one, Europa FC. If we look at their facilities, 1s and 2s for everything. You can see the difference in quality there for some of these clubs. We're not touching reputation yet either. We may end up touching reputation at some point towards the end of the experiment if we need to, if we want to try and give them a bit of a boost. But for now, all we're doing is touching the money. The aim of giving all these clubs money is because we want to try and get them to become the best teams in the world. Hopefully, at some point, they'll invest that £1 billion. They'll do really well with it. They'll get better and better results in European competitions. That'll increase the reputation of the league, and then more better players want to come and play in Gibraltar, to the point where hopefully a team is going to win a European competition. We might have to invest some more money into them at some point, and we might have to give them a bit of a helping hand in other ways. But hopefully that is going to be the end goal of this little mini experiment. The one thing I am interested in, though, is that every single club shares one stadium. Every club plays in the Victoria Stadium. It's the one stadium in Gibraltar. And considering it's only 3 times the size of the Olympic Park in London, there's not really much room for stadiums out there. What I'm interested in is, though, if they've got £1 billion to spend, how many of these clubs are going to build bespoke stadiums just for them? And at that point, how much of Gibraltar is like housing, how much is roads, and how much are football stadiums. Like, how much of a land use is going to be used for football stadiums if that's the case? That's what I'm interested in hearing about. Hopefully, they all get their own stadiums, and that would just be mental. Anyway, I've given all the clubs their money now, and in today's episode, to get the ball rolling, we're going to go 3 years into the future in today's episode. There'll be subsequent episodes where we go further and further into the future. But to get the ball rolling, 3 years in today's episode. So, one at a time, I'm just going to go in this episode on holiday for 1 year. So we're going to come back in 2019, and we're going to come back in May at the very end of the season. We're going to do that. We're going to get cracking, and hopefully we'll see some massive results in today's experiment. So if you like the idea behind this experiment, please do drop a like on the video for me and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I would really, really appreciate that to get you on board and get you ready for FM20. We've got plenty of experiments coming up in FM20. I've got 12 weeks of experiments planned so far in FM20, so if you like this kind of thing, you're going to want to stick around. So I'll see you in a year's time. And just like that, we are back, but a year in the future. So let's get straight into this and see what's going on in the Gibraltan First Division. If we look at the league table to start off with, we can see that in brilliant style, Lincoln Red Imps, they've gone and won the title, which I'm very pleased with. In today's experiment, I'm supporting Lincoln, obviously, and it's good to see us retain our title there ahead of St. Joseph's and Mons Calpe. Glaciers United and Boca Juniors, which I found incredible. Lincoln City, basically, versus Boca Juniors. That's what the Gibraltan League is. They both get relegated. I think the team in 10th automatically goes down, and then the team in 9th place has a relegation playoff with a team from a division below. That's how it works in this. But as you can see, Lincoln have won. St. Joseph's and Mons Calpe, they've got 2nd and 3rd, so they get Europa League qualification places, whereas Lincoln Red Imps get Champions League qualification places. So that's pretty good for them. So good opening first season. Well, let's have a look at the transfers very quickly. What kind of money is being thrown around? Obviously, we've given these clubs £1 billion, and so far, the biggest transfer is £7,000, rising to £9,000. That is huge money. So at this point, I would love to be able to tell you that I know these players and I can say, oh, look at this play, he's pretty good. I can't believe he's gone there. But quite frankly, I don't know any of these players because they're all playing currently for Gibraltar in Gibraltar teams. And I don't know anything about Gibraltar football. So I can't really say, oh, look, Jamie Bossio, that's a good deal for £7,000 because I really don't know if it is or not. I mean, his physicals are okay, but and he's got good leadership. He's clearly a good leader out there with some good decisions, but I mean, quite frankly, I've no idea if he's any good or not. He must be okay, though, because St. Joseph's came 2nd in the league. So, obviously, he's helped them out there in some capacity. I suppose what we're going to be interested in this first season, then, if we look at the history of the league past winners, Lincoln are the reigning champions with Europa FC and St. Joseph's also there. So, with their £1 billion, we want to see how they've been getting on in Europe in their first season in this save. So, if we look at Lincoln's fixtures, they would have gone to the Champions League, and actually they've won. They won a few rounds of Champions League preliminary qualifications, so that's pretty good before losing 5-0 to Celtic, which is a bit unfortunate, obviously, but I suppose they've got a long way to go before they beat Celtic, and they end up going all the way through to the 3rd qualifying round of the Europa League, which is 1 round away from the round that they have to win to then get to the group stages. So actually, they've done massively well in this first season. They're only, if they'd got through that, they'd be 2 wins away from the group stage of the Europa League in this first season. That is massive progress already. More so than I thought, actually, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Second place season before that were Europa FC, so we'll take a quick look at their schedule. They started off in the Euro Cup preliminary rounds. They got through 1 round against some Welsh clubs, but then lost to I think it's a Danish club. I can't pronounce it. I won't try to pronounce this club, but it's a Danish club. They lose that one in the first qualifying round for the Euro Cup, so not too bad there. And then St. Joseph's as well. How did they get on in this first season? This is what we're interested in, really. Similar sort of situation. They get through some preliminary rounds, actually get through the first qualifying round, but in the second qualifying round, lose to a club that I've never heard of. Again, I'm not going to try and pronounce. They're from Azerbaijan, so are they actually Europe or not? That's a bit debatable, isn't it, really? In UEFA's eyes, they are, because they're in UEFA, but on a map and actual geography, I think they're probably more Asia, aren't they? Either way, that's a pretty good first season, I would say. Good to see Lincoln retain their title, did very well in Europa League qualification. Actually, I think most of these clubs did pretty well in Europa League qualification, better than you would expect. So the £1 billion already working pretty well in their favour. What we're going to do then is go another season in the future and see what happens next time around. And again, another 12 months has gone by in a flash. So we're going to go straight back into the Gibraltan First Division. And hopefully we'll see Lincoln Red Imps win another title, which they have done. Now, interestingly, there's now 4 continental qualification places. So clearly UEFA were very impressed with how well these teams qualified last season. in the Europa League qualification. Didn't get to group stages, obviously, but they did well in the qualification rounds, and clearly that's been reflected because there's now an extra place for Europa League qualification. So that's really, really good, actually. Already an extra place in the league for some European action for some of these teams. So that's already massive, massive progress. We're already seeing Lincoln win the title, which is good. Mons Calpe coming second this season. St. Joseph's finishing third this season, with Europa in fourth, getting a Europa League place, which is quite a tongue twister when they're all called Europa. Lions relegated. I think that's one of the teams that got promoted from last season. But probably my favourite team name out of every single team ever, Bruno's Magpies, also got promoted last season. What a team name this is. Bruno's Magpies. I mean, it literally sounds like a pub team, and that's what I love about it. Potentially, a pub team called Bruno's Magpies could win the league and play in the Champions League at some point. It's beautiful. Anyway, before we look at these teams' European exploits, let's have a quick look at the transfers. Any more money being spent? Well, this season, 7.25 is the biggest spend. This time it's for Nacho Fernandez, and I'm sure he's absolutely incredible. To be fair, actually, he's not the worst player in the world. I've seen better, definitely, but he could be a decent non-league player at some point. I mean, he played in the Spanish second division, B4, and that's like the third tier, confusingly, second division, but it's still the third tier of Spanish football, I reckon. How the mighty have fallen, some may say, but I'm saying how the greats are rising in the Gibraltar League, signing players like Nacho Fernandez. So we'll start off with Lincoln again. They retained their title, didn't they? So they're back in the Champions League. So we'll see how they got on this season. Again, they got through those first preliminary rounds, which is good, but in that Champions League first qualifying round, they lose to Zilliner. But they get even closer this time to the group stages. This time, in the Europa League qualification, they get to the fourth qualifying round. Unfortunately, lose it to Legia Warsaw. So Legia Warsaw go into the Europa League group stages. But Lincoln Red Imps coming really close. This £1 billion is already having a massive impact on them, because I don't think actually they've ever got past like the first qualifying round, from what I remember researching. Maybe the second qualifying round once or twice, but never the fourth. This £1 billion is having a massive impact on them already. Mons Calpe obviously got Europa League last season, so they've been it this season. They got to the first qualifying round, which isn't actually amazing. No real progress actually there, which is kind of disappointing considering how well Lincoln have been doing. St. Joseph's were also there as well. They got through into the first qualifying round, but lose it to Linfield of... Are they Northern Ireland or Republic of Ireland? I never quite know this one. Northern Ireland. That's not Republic of Ireland. I'll probably get a lot of angry comments about that. But they lost to Linfield there on away goals, which is always a painful way to go. So Lincoln holding the fort, doing very well, but the other two teams not doing quite as well as we saw in the previous season. Of course, Europa have only qualified this season, so they weren't in it for the season we've just had, if you get what I'm saying. So we'll go forward another season for the final time in today's episode, and we'll see what is going on. And for the final time in today's episode, we are now another year in the future. So we're now in 2021 and the third season of this Gibraltan First Division then. Back to this then. Look at the league table. You love to see it. Lincoln have won the title again, which is fantastic. Europa up to second this time. St. Joseph's down to third and Mons Calpe down to fourth. So these four teams are currently the teams dominating it. To make things a little confusing, there's actually another team in Gibraltar called Europa. They've been relegated though, so obviously they're a team in the second division, they've just been promoted, but they've just been relegated again. So that'll eliminate some confusion for now. But at the moment, what we've seen from today's episode is that Lincoln, Europa, St. Joseph's and Mons Calpe are the teams to beat in the Gibraltan First Division. Again, hopefully some more transfer activity. This time, we're seeing the biggest transfer fee has increased to £9,000 up front to 10.75 in the future, but the other transfer fees have sort of dropped. Less money being paid than last season, definitely. So that's maybe something we can maybe think about. I'm not quite sure how he improved that, but it's something to think about at least. Either way, this guy Carajito is the biggest transfer, going to Gibraltar United. Interestingly, and he looks like the worst of the bunch that we've seen of the most expensive transfers so far. So nothing too mental about him, unfortunately. Perhaps a little bit of a slowdown incoming as we're waiting for some reputation to sort of increase as some teams get a little bit better. Lincoln, what are they just relying on free transfers? I think they probably are more than anything else. Let's actually click on Lincoln this time and look at their transfer history. They're bringing in a lot of players in on loan. Okay, and confusingly, are these all Argentinian players? Because these are all Argentinian clubs. What is going on here then? Players, senior squad, sort it by nationality. Yeah, okay. All right, there must be some sort of link now between Gibraltar and Argentina for Lincoln to be bringing in these many Argentinian players. 7 Argentinians have come in on loan. I mean, fair play. I mean, if we can sort it by current ability, none of them... Oh, actually, no, they are really good. Yeah, if we sort it by current ability, the 5 best players at the club are all Argentinians, all right? Which I suppose is good in one way, but it's you got to be growing your own players as well. If you look at potential ability, the top 7 players in terms of potential ability are all the Argentinian guys in on loan. Okay. The only affiliation that Lincoln Red Imps have got is with Europa Points, apparently. So it's not like they've got an affiliation with some Argentinian clubs. They are literally just going to Argentina, sending their scouts to Argentina to scout these players out, and somehow convincing them that the Gibraltar is the best place for these Argentinian clubs to develop their players. Football Manager, you love to see it. So it might not look like it, but actually there has been some progress in Champions League. So if we go back the previous season, you can see that Lincoln Red Imps go into the Champions League preliminary rounds, which is like the rounds before you get to the qualification rounds, to sort out the really bad teams before you get into the slightly less bad teams, if you get what I'm saying. Before then, obviously, the top teams like your Man United's come in the group stages and things like that. But obviously, there has been progress because they've not to go through preliminary rounds in the 2020-21 season. So they go straight into the first qualifying round, which is good progress. Really good progress. Clearly, Lincoln are flying the flag for Gibraltar, and UEFA have noticed that, and they've promoted them a bit. So they go into that first qualifying round and win it, actually, which is fantastic. They go into the second qualifying round for the Champions League, and Legia Warsaw beat them, unfortunately. But they go through all the way, beat Linfield in the Europa League third qualifying round, but lose to Partizan Belgrade. So Partizan go to the group stages of the Europa League, whereas Lincoln knocked out at this stage for a second season in a row. You hate to see it, but it's great progress from the club, to be fair. I'm really pleased with that. So the top 4's not changed since last season, so we can click on these clubs to see how they've got on in this season's European competitions. Europa went straight into the Europa League and won the first qualifying round, but lost the second qualifying round to Odd, which is a bit odd, isn't it? They're a Norwegian side, apparently, so fair play, losing to them. St. Pedro, nearly said Jose Pedro's. He's a player in my Lincoln United save I've got on at the moment. If you've not seen that, go check that one out. Jose Pedro, though, is not St. Joseph's FC. St. Joseph's FC, how do they get on? They lost in the first qualifying round, which I suppose is going to happen at some point, but you hate to see it. And finally, Mons Calpe, how did they get on? They also lost in that first qualifying round. So, I mean, it's not the worst. Lincoln still carrying all the other clubs, and I think that's why we keep seeing improvements year on year. But so far, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a pretty good result so far. 3 seasons, and we've already seen an extra European place given to the league. We've already seen that they don't have to go through preliminary rounds anymore. They're straight into the actual qualification round. So that kind of shows a big step. I probably should have done this right to start off with as well, actually, but I've just realised I forgot to show you it completely. The very first season we started this, the Gibraltar League was in 126th position in European rankings. It's now up to 104th, which is pretty good, but that's 2020. So actually, in a few weeks' time, that should update. And I imagine Gibraltar would actually go into the top 100 leagues in Europe, which is mental. I mean, we're talking like we're on the same level as the Finnish second division and the Belgian second amateur division. Dizzy heights. Either way, that is going to be that for today's episode. Next time around, I reckon we'll go 5 years in the future, which should be quite good. So make sure you stick around for that by subscribing to the channel with notifications turned on. Drop a like on the video for me as well if you like how this episode's gone and you like the idea behind it. And remember, if you want to get Football Manager 2020 for cheap, get it pre-ordered, get access to the beta. It's all linked in the description for you. Use promo code TomFM for an extra 10% off the price as well. And I'll see you next time for some more experiments and hopefully some more massive gains in the Gibraltan First Division and hopefully some point soon a Champions League win for one of these clubs. See you then.